The venue coordinator looked at me with barely disguised pity, her eyes sweeping over my simple navy dress. Nothing like the designer gowns my sister Maya and her bridesmaids wore upstairs. "Oh," she said carefully. "I thought all family members were getting ready together?" "Emma works in business," Mom explained with that apologetic tone I'd heard my entire adult life. "Very busy. We're just grateful she could make it at all." I didn't correct her. I never did anymore. "The waitstaff could use an extra set of hands during cocktail hour," the coordinator offered. "If you're comfortable helping." "That's perfect," Mom interrupted, relief flooding her face. "Emma's always been so helpful." I glanced at my phone. The press release would go live in 43 minutes. The merger between Titan Industries and Castellan Corp., my sister's father-in-law's company, would be announced. The same merger I'd spent 18 months negotiating as the youngest CEO in Titan's 100-year history. "Sure, Mom," I said quietly. "I can help." The coordinator handed me a serving tray. "Just circulate with champagne during cocktail hour." I'd flown in from Singapore that morning. The board meeting had run until 3 a.m. followed by a 14-hour flight. I'd spent the entire time reviewing final merger terms. I hadn't told my family about the CEO promotion. When I'd made VP at 28, Dad had said, "That's nice, honey. Maya just got engaged." When I'd launched the Southeast Asia expansion at 30, Mom had interrupted to ask if I'd met any nice men abroad. When Forbes featured me in their 30 under 30 list, my brother Josh joked they must have been desperate for content. So when the board appointed me CEO at 32, I'd simply stopped mentioning work at family gatherings. "Emma." Aunt Linda cornered me near the gift table. "I heard you're helping with serving." "How sweet. Are you still doing that computer thing?" "Something like that," I said. "Maya was saying how embarrassed she was that you'd show up alone again. But nobody notices when you're busy helping out." She patted my arm. "You make yourself useful, dear. That's your strength." The cocktail hour stretched on. I circulated with champagne, smiled politely, and listened to relatives speculate about my perpetual single status. Uncle Robert suggested I was married to my work, and not in a complimentary way. Maya's new in-laws were worse. Douglas Castellan III, the groom's father and CEO of Castellan Corp., held court near the bar, his booming voice carrying across the garden. "The bride's family is eclectic," he told a cluster of business associates. "Salt-of-the-earth types. The sister's in some middle management position, I believe. Maya at least married well." His wife Patricia nodded. "The sister came alone, naturally. Career women often do. So focused on work they forget what really matters." Her eyes found me holding a champagne tray. "Though I suppose helping the staff is something." I checked my phone. 22 minutes. The ceremony was beautiful. I sat in the back row, family overflow seating, and watched Maya marry Brett Castellan IV. The reception began with the usual flourishes. First dance. Toasts. Dinner service. I was stationed near the kitchen doors ready to help clear plates. My phone buzzed. The press release had gone live. Messages flooded in immediately. Congratulations from board members. Interview requests from Bloomberg, Reuters, The Wall Street Journal. One from our communications director. Titan stock up 12% in after-hours trading. You've created a firestorm. I silenced my phone and picked up dessert plates. Emma, right? Brett's uncle, a distinguished man I'd briefly met earlier, appeared at my elbow. Robert Castellan. "I need to speak with you. Privately. Now." Something in his tone made me set down the plates. He guided me toward a quiet corner. "I'm on the Castellan Corp board," he said without preamble. "I just got the news alert. You're the Titan Industries CEO. The one acquiring our company." I met his eyes. "Yes. My brother doesn't know yet. He left his phone in the car. He's about to be blindsided at his son's wedding." He paused. "Why are you carrying dessert plates when my family has been treating you like hired help all evening?" "They didn't know," I said quietly. "That's not an excuse." He looked toward the reception where Douglas was laughing loudly, champagne in hand. "Does he know his new daughter's sister is about to become his boss?" "Not yet." Robert's expression hardened. "The speeches. You need to be recognized during the speeches. Publicly." The best man had just finished his toast when Robert Castellan stood up, tapping his champagne glass. "Forgive the interruption," he said smoothly, "but I've just received extraordinary business news relevant to this celebration." Douglas looked confused. Patricia smiled indulgently. "As many of you know," Robert continued, "I serve on the board of Castellan Corp., the company my brother Douglas has built over 30 years. Douglas straightened proudly. Guests applauded. "Today we completed a merger with Titan Industries, a Fortune 500 company that will take Castellan Corp. Into a new era." Robert paused. The merger was 18 months in negotiation. Titan's leadership demonstrated exceptional strategic vision and financial acumen. And I'm delighted to announce that the CEO who led those negotiations is here tonight. The room stirred with interest. Heads turned. "Emma," Robert said, looking directly at me, "would you please stand?" The garden went silent. I stood slowly from my position near the kitchen doors, still holding a dessert plate. "Emma Chin," Robert announced, "CEO of Titan Industries. Named to the position 6 months ago at age 32. Youngest CEO in the company's history. Currently overseeing operations in 14 countries with 40,000 employees. And as of this afternoon, the executive leading the strategic direction of the newly merged Titan Castellan organization." The plate slipped from my hand, shattering on stone. Nobody noticed. Maya's face went white. Mom looked faint. Dad's mouth hung open. Douglas Castellan's expression told the whole story. Color drained from his face as he pulled out his phone with shaking hands, scrolling frantically. Then he looked up at me, realizing exactly who his daughter-in-law's middle management sister actually was. "The merger terms," Robert continued with a sharp edge, "include executive restructuring. Douglas will remain as president of the Castellan division, reporting directly to Emma. They'll be working quite closely together." Patricia's champagne glass slipped from her fingers. "Emma flew in from Singapore this morning," Robert said relentlessly, "where she oversees Titan's $2.3 billion Asia-Pacific expansion. She attended Maya's wedding despite a board meeting that ran until 3 a.m. followed by a 14-hour flight. And she arrived to find her family suggesting she serve champagne." Aunt Linda made a small whimpering sound. "So I'd like to propose a toast," Robert said, raising his glass. "To Emma Chin. An extraordinary leader who demonstrated grace and professionalism even when her own family failed to recognize her accomplishments." Silence stretched. Then Robert began to applaud. Others joined hesitantly. The sound built into genuine applause as reality sank in. I stood near the kitchen doors in my simple navy dress and met my mother's devastated eyes across the garden. The reception dissolved into chaos within minutes. Douglas cornered me first, his pomposity replaced by desperate corporate politicking. "Emma, I had no idea. We should discuss the transition structure. Your assistant can schedule a meeting through my office," I said coolly. "Integration planning begins Monday." Patricia tried next, society smile plastered on. "What a wonderful surprise. We had no idea." "You've had 5 hours," I interrupted. "You had ample opportunity." Maya approached slowly, tears streaming. "Emma, I didn't know. I thought you were just, you never said you were a C. You never asked what I did," I said quietly. "You asked what I'd bring to Thanksgiving. You asked if I was seeing anyone. You asked if I'd gained weight. But you never once asked about my work." "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "Mom and Dad found me near the exit. Both were crying." "Why didn't you tell us?" Mom asked brokenly. "I tried," I said simply. "For years. Every achievement was dismissed or overshadowed. So I stopped trying." "We're so proud of you," Dad said desperately. "You told Aunt Linda I was in that computer thing," I said. "You suggested I help waitstaff. You seated me in overflow. You're proud of Maya's wedding to a Castellan. But my accomplishments, those were just Emma being busy with work." Robert appeared at my side. "Emma, my car is waiting. Once the press realizes the Titan CEO is related to the bride, this venue will be swarmed. You should leave now." He was right. My phone showed 17 missed calls from media outlets. "Congratulations on the wedding," I said to my family. "I hope the marriage is everything you hoped for." I walked out, leaving them standing in the wreckage of their assumptions. The fallout was immediate and brutal. The wedding became a social media sensation within hours. Someone had filmed Robert's toast. The video went viral. So mistaken for waitstaff at sister's wedding. Forbes ran a feature. Business Insider published an analysis. LinkedIn exploded with commentary about women in leadership being dismissed by their own relatives. Maya's perfect wedding became known as the merger wedding in social circles. Douglas's comments about salt of the earth in-laws circulated widely. Patricia's sneering dismissal of career women played on loop across business news. The professional consequences were worse. 3 Castellan Corp board members privately approached Titan about Douglas's leadership capacity. His public comments about me, his soon-to-be boss, were now on record. The integration team recommended his position be restructured within 6 months. Maya called 17 times in 3 days. I didn't answer. Mom sent a long email about never meaning to diminish my achievements, being overwhelmed by wedding planning, always knowing I was special. I didn't respond. Dad tried. Your mother is devastated. Maya is heartbroken. You're hurting the family. I replied with one line. I spent 32 years being hurt by this family. You'll survive 3 days. 2 weeks later, I received a dinner invitation. Maya's handwriting. Please come. We need to talk. Just family. I almost declined. Then Robert called. Go. Not for them. For you. I chose the restaurant. A Michelin-starred establishment where I'd hosted board dinners. I arrived 15 minutes late. They were all there. Mom, Dad, Maya, Brett, Josh, Aunt Linda, Uncle Robert. Emma. Maya started. We owe you an apology. You owe me more than that, I said calmly. You owe me years of recognition and respect. I looked around the table. I made VP at 28. Nobody asked. I launched a billion-dollar expansion at 30. Nobody celebrated. I made CEO at 32. Nobody noticed until it affected someone else's life. We didn't understand, Mom protested. When Josh made partner, you threw a party. When Maya got engaged, you cried happy tears. But when I achieved something extraordinary. Silence. Suggestions that I serve champagne. The table sat in uncomfortable silence. I don't need your approval anymore, I continued. I've earned respect from colleagues and leaders worldwide. What I needed was for my family to see me. To care enough to ask. We're asking now, Dad said quietly. 18 months too late. I stood. I came because Robert suggested I give you a chance. Now you know who I am. What you do with that knowledge is your choice. Maya's voice stopped me. Emma, wait. I turned. You're right, she said. I never asked about your work because I assumed it wasn't as important as what I was doing. That was wrong. And cruel. I'm sorry. I looked at my sister and saw for the first time genuine regret. I'll be in Singapore for 6 months, I said finally. When I'm back we can have coffee. Just us. And you can ask me about my work. Really ask. Really listen. I will, Maya promised. I swear. I nodded and left. Outside my driver waited. My phone showed 47 new emails, 3 board meeting requests and 1 message from Robert. Proud of you. You're going to be extraordinary at this job. I smiled and settled into the car. Singapore awaited. The merger awaited. My life, the one I'd built despite my family's blindness, awaited. They could apologize. They could try. But I no longer needed their validation. I'd found it in boardrooms and balance sheets, in the respect of colleagues who saw me clearly. And that, finally, was enough.